Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Dysart Council meeting for Tuesday, February 23rd. First item of business, I will have the clerk, Mallory, if you can do roll call to ensure attendance. Thank you.
Councillor Clark.
Present.
Councillor Donaldson.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Kennedy.
Present.
Councillor McKechnie.
Present.
Councillor Smith.
Present.
Councillor Wood Roberts.
Present.
And Mayor Roberts.
Present.
Perfect.
Thank you very much for that. The next item is the adoption of the agenda. I'm going to turn to Councillor Smith. Was there something you wanted to add to the agenda? And we need a seconder for that. So,
Well, I was questioning Mallory, clerk, with respect to the committee of the whole. As you know, we started a committee of the whole process, and I noticed that most of the items that were discussed at the meeting 2 weeks ago aren't on the agenda today, and in fact, there's not even a report from the committee of the whole. So I'm interested in the process that would allow council, the only decision-making body, to deal with items from the committee of the whole.
so we can hear from Mallory, but I believe, and I know what item that you're referring to, is that if the committee of the whole didn't make a recommendation on an item, then it would more or less, let's call it, die there. But if the committee of the whole said, yes, we recommend to council that, and whatever the recommendation is, then it would be on today's meeting. So I believe what happened with the item in question is that it didn't get recommended to go to council. So there's two choices. You can add notice of motion at the end of meeting to bring it up, or you could ask it to be added to the agenda, but I would need a seconder to approve an addition to the agenda. Those are two courses of action, Councillor Smith. Otherwise, we adopt the agenda as presented.
Well, I'd like to have a short discussion with respect to the report that we received from staff regarding ward boundaries. I had a follow-up discussion with Watson and Associates, the consultant to our reference there, and I wanted to report on that to council.
So, for point of order, I believe what the choice on the table right now is to move a motion with the addition of an item on an agenda, stating what the item is, which is further discussion of ward boundaries, and see if you have a second. If there isn't a second, then I'll go back to the original motion, which is just to adopt the agenda as presented. So is that what you would like to do? Is
I'd like to add the item. I'd like the item to be discussed here at council. This is the decision-making body for our municipality, and therefore I think that council should have this item on its agenda.
okay, and you feel you asking it because it has you have further information.
That is correct.
Okay, so Councillor Smith, I take it you are moving that the agenda for the regular meeting of council of the municipality of Dysart et al. Be held on February 23rd, 2021, be amended with the item as ward boundaries for further discussion. Is there a seconder for that motion? Is that a hand, Councillor Donaldson, or a shake of the head? Sorry, you're mute, so I want to be clear because this is important.
Yeah, I can second it.
Okay, so you're seconding as amended. Okay, so that is moved by Councillor Smith and seconded by Councillor Donaldson. And to the clerk, Mallory, you're able to, I'll just put on this piece of paper as amended, but with ward boundary discussion. And we'll put it under
You can go under administration.
administration, okay? So now I need to call the vote. It's still not passed. Councillor Smith?
Well, there was another item with respect to the agenda also. And that relates to kind of the sequence of things today. We have a closed session, and we have a motion with respect to our budget. It seemed to me that it made sense to deal with the report in closed session before we have a vote on the budget.
Thank you. You and I did discuss this yesterday, and as the purview of the chairs, we'll have closed first, and then we'll come out and do finance and administration later.
Thank you.
Okay, so that is not a change. It's just a change of order. It's not adding anything. So just to be clear, the motion is on the table, and I'm going to ask for the vote that it be approved as amended to add the item ward boundaries. All in favor? 3. There are opposed? So I vote, and for the sake of transparency, open, honest discussion, I will vote in favor. So the motion carries, and we will discuss ward boundaries later today. That's unusual. We don't usually we just always adopt an agenda as presented, but that's how things go. I will ask now if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. No, seeing none. The next is to adopt minutes from both regular council meeting and the public meeting held on January 26th. Do I have a mover seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Clark, second by Councillor Wood Roberts. Be it resolved that council approves the following meeting minutes as circulated. Dysart et al. Regular Council, the 26th of January 2021, and public meeting on 26th of January 2021. All in favor? And that carries. And next is the mayor and deputy mayor update. It's my chance and Deputy Mayor Kennedy's chance to share with council any of the sort of things that are happening in and around town. I did not do much preparation for today. I just want to thank everybody for the continued work that Dysart staff is doing, particularly right now our roads department. We've had a lot of snow and it's continuing, and we're getting some grumblings from people. And I just want to know, I want everyone to know, I think Dysart roads staff is doing a fabulous job to keep our roads clear and safe. It's getting a little difficult of where to put all the snow. So everyone who is plowing their own driveways or moving snow around on their own property, keep in mind that it can't be put out onto a municipal road. We have a few things coming up on tomorrow's county council meeting. I believe maybe Deputy Mayor Kennedy wants to talk to the one regarding HCDC delegation coming up tomorrow. And other than that, we just keep carrying on, and we're doing well up here, and we look forward to when we can find out where our vaccination facilities or places are going to be. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Deputy Mayor Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, a couple of presentations tomorrow. HCDC is doing their annual update to County Council, an organization I'm proud to serve as temporary chair at this time, and a great attribute to the community. And I encourage everybody just to have a look at that presentation. We are the largest community futures development corporation in Canada. Over 220 loans on the books and $18 million in loan portfolio. Also, COVID has hit their businesses pretty hard. There have been a number of federal programs that have had staff scrambling and applications and getting money out. So good success story, and continue to work with the community moving forward. Another presentation of the Haliburton Highlands Arts Center Foundation, which we received at Dysart, and they're making their rounds. Quite impressed with the way this organization is starting to come together and mature, and look forward to things down the road in the future. And then the new organization, the Haliburton City Kawartha Lakes Long-Term Care Coalition, is making a presentation to council tomorrow as well, seeking some support in principle for some thoughts and requests that they have with long-term care in the province. And then there's a climate change report and update from Corey. Other than that, just great to see winter back. The people are back and enjoying what we have to offer here, and see lots of snowmobilers, downhill skiers, cross country. I drove over to Glebe Park the other day and you literally could not find a parking spot. And that's just a fabulous comment on how winter has changed here in Haliburton Highlands and how we need to recognize that moving forward as we develop our community. So, thank you.
Thank you for that. And one thing I've also on tomorrow's County Council meeting is the passing of our budget. And it's really interesting information. I would suggest all Dysart councillors go and check that report out and where Dysart fits into the amount of levy that comes from Dysart that goes to the county. I believe 38% of the portion. So we're the significant largest contributor to the county. So that's on tomorrow. If there's any questions for either of us, and if not, we'll move on to the body of our meeting. Okay, thank you. So the first thing we have is a delegation from Pamela Marcellus, and she's going to be brought into the meeting. And she's got a event that she'd like to present. We'll just wait till she comes in. Good morning, Pamela.
I'm getting there.
I know, that's
Hey,
great.
there we go. Oh, whoa, what happened?
Went back, there you go.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, I'll pass it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor, Dysart Council, staff, anybody out there in Radio Land watching. Okay, I am going to try screen sharing here because I'm here to talk to you about, bear with me. Share. Okay. Is it working?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Excellent.
good. Excellent. Climb, ramble, and roll on behalf of Friends of the Rail Trail, or FORT for short, as we call it. And I neglected to mention on this slide that FORT is part of the Haliburton County Community Cooperative, otherwise known colloquially as the co-op. And that will come up in a little bit when we talk about insurance. So I'm here to talk about the first annual event. It's the second week in September, so it'll be after Labor Day and before Hike Haliburton, just sneaking in there where there's nothing else happening that I know of in the village. I learned that Hike Haliburton has decided to give up its biggest annual picnic in future. So this is something that might tie into this event. So Climb, Ramble, and Roll is a family-friendly bike challenge. It's non-competitive. It's not one of these crazy adventure races. It's doable for all ages and abilities. It's just for fun. I need to adjust a setting here so that I can see. There we go. Okay. It is the first ever fundraiser for Friends of the Rail Trail. We've been around since 2007, and we've always provided public programming either free or very affordably. If we needed to have a ticketed event, it was designed to be break even, because we wanted to welcome the greatest number of people, depending, it didn't matter what their level of affordability was. However, since the pandemic, and we've had to cancel now coming up to 2 seasons of Sunday Rambles, which is when we get our most membership renewals, we've decided we need our first ever fundraising event. It will have multiple community partners. It offers a discovery of routes and how they connect. The event this year will be able to be COVID compliant through consultation with our local public health authorities. And by nature of FORT being part of the co-op, we have full insurance coverage and can provide an event certificate to Dysart and any other community partners that request it. We believe that this could become a signature event for Dysart et al. And Haliburton Village, and it could be developed as a self-guided tour. For some reason, I can't seem, oh, here we go. Sorry, the route. The interesting thing about this route is, first of all, I first conceived of it about 10 years ago, but at that point, it would have included the unopened road allowance between the end of Cowan Road and the beginning of Gould Crossing Road. That was in pretty rough condition and not safe for most cyclists. So with the opening of Barnum Creek Nature Reserve, I thought this was a good opportunity to put this idea out to the community to see if this was a doable event. Now, the Land Trust, Haliburton Highlands Land Trust, has been aware of this. They're having a meeting tonight to discuss it. So I'll keep Dysart in the loop as things progress there. But it's an opportunity to show how routes that are already in and around our community can be connected. And in this case, they create one great big loop. So I'm not going to read through all this detail right now, and you probably can't even read this on your screen, but at your own time, those are the details of the route. The community partners would be Dysart et al. Haliburton County has already been brought into the loop. Amanda Vertanen is happy to partner on a tourism aspect of this. And as I mentioned previously, hand off the Hike Haliburton picnic in future, possibly, to coincide with this event. So as people come around the loop through Head Lake Park, there could be some sort of a food festival or something happening there before they come back around. One thing I will mention about the route is that participants would be parking in the Dysart et al. Municipal parking lot outside your office building near the skate park, because the first part of the route is walking up the sky slider. So another aspect of the route that we're interested in rounding out is it will involve some partnership with the health unit, anyone interested in active transportation in the village, Search, who has the new cafe down there, a bistro, and the Point in Time Youth Wellness Hub, because as riders come back around through the village, we'd like them to help us identify the best safe, doable for novice cyclists route through the village. And it will help educate the community about the safest way for our young people who might be on skateboards or bicycles or walking to navigate through town without having any car accidents. I think we all want that. So some of the other partners, Rails and Gallery has always gone hand in hand with initiatives that Friends of the Rail Trail has taken on. The private landowners have been consulted and are very enthusiastic. At this point, I would like to give a very generous acknowledgement and thank you to the one private landowner that has opened up the old Sky Slider footpath to public use. I think that's incredibly generous. It's what is termed in urban planning, a POPs, privately owned public space. You have some other examples of that in the village with those pathways that go from the upper level to the lower level, from Highland Street to York Street. Those are privately owned and publicly accessed. The Sky Slider path is not well known, but it's a wonderful facility, and I really applaud this landowner that has made it open to the public. Sir Sam Ski and Ride, Brandy P. Sticker, will be part of the planning activity of this and might be able to make some rental bikes available for people that are, unable to provide their own. Of course, we'll be consulting with the health unit about whatever the COVID regulations are at the time. I've mentioned Search, Point in Time. The Real Easy Riders Cycling Club and the Trekkers will be able to help us in terms of just getting the word out to people that are interested in active recreation. And finally, Haliburton Highlands Museum is an interested community partner that will be able to help this project convey a little bit about our history, the crazy history of that Sky Slider ride, the history of the Pioneer Farm in Barnum Creek Nature Reserve, and the oldest road in Haliburton, which Leopoldina Dobrensky wrote about in her wonderful book, Fragments of a Dream, which is now the unopened road allowance between Cowan Road and Gould Crossing Road. So the only thing I would ask today, I'm not asking you for any money. I know councils always appreciate that. I would just ask that you champion this first annual event, direct your staff as appropriate to assist us in the planning so that there are no surprises. I heard recently that there is going to be, oh dear, I see a note that my internet connection is unstable. So I hope you can still hear me.
Yeah, we can. Yeah,
Okay.
I just want to allow time for questions, so we'll just,
Okay, well, that's you can see the other asks there. Just consider participating yourself, share via word of mouth, promote through your municipal channels. And now we're ready for questions.
Perfect. Thank you very much for your presentation. So I know that you have talked to our recreation staff, and the only space that you're taking up is the parking lot. So we still use a park use agreement for the parking lot when it's a sanctioned event. So you'd go through that with Andrew Mueller. And you said the weekend of, is it the Saturday or the Sunday, like specifically which date?
We're not sure yet. Yeah,
Sorry?
we're not sure yet.
Not sure.
We are not
Okay.
sure.
That's fine. Could be the Sunday, or but one of those 2 days. And just curious, have you thought of what's your fee that you thought of? It could be, seeing as it is a fundraiser.
Yeah, it will be in the 20 to 25 kind of ballpark.
Great. Very reasonable.
Pre-registration, and in subsequent years, there'll be t-shirts. We're not quite ready for that this year.
Just get it started and see how it goes. And it's a really great route, pretty hilly. It'd be fun to walk your bike up that hill, but coming down Riverside, not Riverside, Riverview. No, what's the Ridgeview? Sorry, you know what the street I mean that comes down.
Actually,
That'll be.
No, we don't come down Ridgeview because this is all, we go, okay.
I'll check the route later. Don't you worry. I'll open it up to the floor for questions. Any questions for Pamela?
Oh, come on, guys. I love questions.
Councillor Smith?
Thank you. Thank you, Pamela. Great presentation, and certainly an interesting activity. You mentioned this is a fundraiser, and you're talking $20 or $25. What are your funding requirements? So, how big is your goal, and in terms of financial needs, if you like?
Well, this ties into something that Pat mentioned at the outset, the HCDC, wonderful work in the community. Friends of the Rail Trail currently has a project underway called the HCRT, which stands for Haliburton County Rail Trail Linear Park Project. That will be wrapping up at the end of March. We're already thinking about how we want to extend that project into the next year. So fundraising from this event would give us a little pot of money that we can use towards that project as matching funds with any donations from the community. And it's, I should have mentioned that it's linear park during COVID-19 and beyond into economic recovery, because park space has become so appreciated and necessary in this pandemic period.
Great.
Yeah,
Just
follow
as I
up.
might follow that with a follow-up question, and are you a registered charity? So if you know, this time of year, people who make charitable donations are gathering their tax receipts so that they can get about half their money back when they file their tax return. Are you able to give charity receipts for donations?
No, we are a nonprofit organization. However, we are associated with Toronto Algonquin Greenway TAG, which is working towards a charitable status.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Yeah, that's difficult to get, but you know, a reasonable entry fee and a fun event in September sounds great to me. So we do have a resolution to acknowledge receipt, and also I believe the ask is to work with some direct staff as appropriate. So I think, is there support for that? Mover seconder. Councillor Wood Roberts moving and Deputy Mayor Kennedy seconding. Be it resolved that Council acknowledges receipt of the presentation by Pamela Marcellus, Chair of Friends of the Rail Trail, regarding the first annual Climb, Ramble and Roll event. All in favor? And that carries. And great. Good luck, Pamela. And I'm sure it'll be a very successful event. People will be looking forward to doing something fun like that in September. So you can work with Mueller. Okay.
Great. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye now. We have a second delegation coming in next, which is Michelle Corley. Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, specifically Madam Mayor and members of council, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. So my name is Michelle Corley, and I'm the program supervisor with the City of Kawartha Lakes, and specifically the Human Services Department. So you may or may not recall, but in 2019, this 10-year housing and homelessness plan was adopted by the city and county councils, which included a separate approval of the affordable housing targets within that plan. The affordable housing target, set specifically for the County of Haliburton, aims to create 750 new affordable housing targets or affordable housing units between 2020 and 2029. During 2020, we initiated our first intake of the Affordable Housing Target Program, a program where various types of proponents have an opportunity to express an interest in creating affordable housing units, and then they are able to seek various incentives to fund and help support the creation of these units. The report before you outlines recommendations from this first intake of this program, which aims to create 47 affordable housing units in the County of Haliburton, and specifically 15 units in Dysart LL. These recommended projects have gone through an application process of the Affordable Housing Target Program. Then they were reviewed by various technical staff from both the county and Dysart. As well, they have been brought forward now to the steering committee. This report specifically highlights and seeks approval of Dysart's contributions towards incentives to support the creation of 15 new affordable rental units by waiving or offering an exemption or relief of the various fees contained in this report. This particular project is contingent on the approval of federal funding through the Rapid Housing Initiative. If the project does move forward and receives that federal funding, it will still go through the various required planning and developmental processes at that municipal level. Overall, the first intake of the Affordable Housing Target Program really saw great, well-rounded interest from various proponents. When I say proponents, I'm meaning groups who are either private developers, homeowners looking to do secondary suites, nonprofit groups, and other existing nonprofit housing providers. So it was really great to see interest come from all those different types of groups. In addition to the project types demonstrated a really nice variety of projects, including new rental construction, multi-unit rehabilitation, which is the project that's contained within the report specifically attributed and located in Dysart, where they're looking at taking that motel and converting it into rental units. Secondary suites, like I mentioned, too, are an option of new rental stock and rent supplement. So furthermore, the various incentives that are recommended to support these projects are also a really good reflection of financial support from all levels of government, from local municipalities, the county, the city of Kawartha Lakes, as well as federal and provincial funding. That really wraps up the deputation, and I thank you for your time this morning. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Michelle, for that description. And so just to be clear, because we are also working with Places for People on a different property, this is, as Michelle stated, the motel for a conversion. So we have a resolution in front of us that is lengthy and lists all of those fees. And I'm not, the difference between Dysart and say the county even, the county sets aside a target amount every year. We've been working with City of Kawartha Lakes and so the county is contributing to its own reserves and then using those reserves each year. And so we have money to pull from the county. Dysart has not done that. We have participated in with the City of Kawartha Lakes and housing projects before, Whispering Pines being the latest one in phase 1 and phase 2. Dysart did a lot of financial and in-kind contributions for that project. So I'm not sure if we're able to fully pass the resolution as presented, because it is a very large contribution of which we have not made any, we don't have any reserves for that. And I'm wondering if there's, and I see Deputy Mayor Kennedy, I'm also wondering the ERU, I would want to talk to staff before as well. And to further clarification, obviously it's going from a motel to the number of units, I believe is it 13 in total? I'm sorry, or is it 15?
16 in total.
16 in total, pardon me. Bachelor's bed, right, okay. But also, is there an opportunity to adjust the ERUs, or is it just a 1-for-1? So that, because that is probably the largest contribution that is asked of us at this time. They're going to open it up to the floor for questions or comments, or if we can just have further discussion on the fees. Deputy Mayor Kennedy was first, and then Councillor Clark, and then Councillor Smith.
I'd like to, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to recommend that we defer any decisions on this file until we have a chance to get staff reports, specifically on the ERUs. That is a user pay system, and what the impacts and where, if we were to support that portion of it, where that money might come from. Also reports on the other requests as far as the building permits and waiving of fees, just a general overall the impact. And that would also give us a chance to consider the Wallings Road project as well. This is a lot bigger piece than just this one application. So I just could be deferred to committee of the whole, or such time as staff would be able to prepare some supplementary reports to this. Thank you.
Okay, Michelle, did you want to comment back before I take another councillor's question?
Sure, thank you for that opportunity. So I would just say that keep in mind, we really are working towards this program to have a quarterly intake. So potentially these recommendations would be coming to you quarterly if there are projects landing within Dysart. We are really trying to work hard towards meeting and achieving these targets. So I think there's the hope that we can eventually have a plan within budgets or other planning and development policies that when it comes to affordable housing, that, you know, there's kind of a clear standard of what incentives could be offered to proponents, because we certainly know the need for affordable housing is great. And we're hoping to attract a lot of interested parties to build that much needed housing. And we know a lot of times that housing can't be made affordable unless there are incentives applied to it to kind of make the budgets work and whatnot. So we are hoping this will become a regular program and hoping to seek regular approval for these incentives in the future.
Okay, thank you. And so next to Councillor Clark.
Thank you through you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I support Deputy Mayor Kennedy's approach that we need some staff analysis and feedback before we're in a position to approve. But Michelle, my other question is, do you have a target group that you're looking at for this? What you're looking at, I guess, kind of a remodeling or a revamping of the Lakeview is a little different, I think, clientele than what we're talking about with Wallings, through Places for People. But is this part of, is this housing targeted towards groups through the Halbert and Pine Ridge area type of thing, or have you got, is it open to just people in the Halberton area Halberton Village area that are not able to find housing?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So what I would suggest with all these programs coming through the Affordable Target Program, where there is considerable investments and contributions being made by various levels of government, then there is the expectation and requirement that those projects are actually serving those who require affordable housing. They would be filled ultimately from our very long waiting list of community housing applicants. And that waiting list, as we know from recent analysis, about 80% of those applicants are indeed local.
When you're saying local, are you talking about Lindsay or are you talking about Halberton County?
I'm talking about folks across our whole service region, which does include the city of Kawartha Lakes and the county of Haliburton. Keeping in mind that there are really contributions for these projects from all levels of government.
The probability is very few of them that would actually be people in Halberton County.
Not specifically, not specifically, no. Sometimes, we try to make applicants certainly aware of what amenities are in the local communities, and depending on individual needs and interests, and applicants are often choosing communities that they're a little bit more familiar with, but I can't specifically commit that they'll always be local, but it often falls out that way.
Yeah, the reason I'm making you dance on that, we've got a lot of local employers that are unable to hire staff because there's no affordable housing for construction workers, that kind of thing, and it's a problem for our economy, and to have it targeted for people looking for affordable housing that are not going to be part of our economy here, to me, is a concern, but. I know you work within certain guidelines and certain rules based on your funding models. It's just that we've got concerns here too that we have to weigh against that. Is just my point. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I think maybe one time hopefully could do a further explanation. I don't think, Michelle, that's for you to have to fully explain how the funding formula works and these contributions through the partnership with the county and the city of Kawartha Lakes. Is complicated and not necessarily fully understood by everybody, or how the waiting lists work and all of that. I think here today we just are going to support the project. I believe probably the largest, obviously, contribution is the ERU. And when I see that 12 of the units are bachelor units, and perhaps without their own laundry facility in that, that's why I want to delay especially that commitment. Is I would like to talk to staff and see, we call it ERU an equivalent residential unit. Councillor Smith, do you want me to finish or?
Yep.
Okay, so just for the people understanding what an ERU is, it's basically saying one household. And, if it's a 1-bedroom condominium, it's one for one. But there have been opportunities where one isn't necessarily equal one, a bachelor unit might not necessarily be considered one for one. So could be open. That's where I'd like to talk to staff on the ERU calculation. So Councillor Smith, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. You know, nobody can argue against the need for more affordable housing. And I don't think, you know, our council, or frankly, probably anyone on council, is going to debate whether there's a need or not. And, you know, as has been mentioned, we are working with Places for People on another project, probably more aligned with our broader vision of what we think the need is for affordable housing within our community. The concern I'd have about this particular proposal, and I'd be interested in Michelle's perspective, is that all this is doing is taking one type of housing called a motel and converting it into more permanent accommodation. Our community suffers from a shortage of housing now, of accommodations of any type during the you know, what I'll call the summer season and other event times during the course of the year. And so if we were to take taxpayers' money and help fund this conversion, you know, we'd be creating housing, and as Councillor Clark points out, it may not even be addressing you know, a real need in our community. But you know, you take our college, and it's you know, summer arts program where people are scrambling for all types of accommodations to stay anywhere in our community to participate in that very popular program. Well, here we take a place today that is, you know, home for many of those, you know, people who come to our community for a week or 2 or 3 during the summer, and you'll take that off the market, and then we'll be scrambling to try and find a place for those, I'll call them tourists, to stay. You know, some people in our business community will be saying, well, what happened there? And so I struggle with, you know, at a conceptual level, how this really advances the well-being of our community when you look at that potential loss. You know, it's not up to council to make decisions about where people invest their money or don't invest their money in terms of developers on housing versus you know, accommodation like a motel. But if we're putting public money into something like this, you know, we may be addressing one issue that you're pointing to, but we're just creating another problem. And I'm not sure that's the right thing for us to do. So, you know, I'd support some further deliberation on this matter prior to, you know, any decision to put public money into, you know, this particular proposal.
Well, it all has always been the tradition of the municipality of Dysart and pretty much every municipality out there to be one level of government. That is, so there's often provincial, federal money, as well as municipal incentives. There's a project going forward in Minden right now, and I know that Minden Council, I don't know the dollar figure, but I knew they are incredibly supportive of a project that's going forward on Highway 35, right where 21 meets Highway 35. So we can't really philosophically talk about why a motel isn't going to be a motel anymore. Places for People are put in an offer, and they are providing one type of need. Agreed, there might be, then it might trigger something else, but that's our responsibility is to look at this project and where Dysart's contribution can be. We did set aside money. When I said we didn't set aside money, that is actually not true. This is the first year ever that we set aside $10,000 in economic development. Actually, during first budget deliberations, I suggested that it go towards housing projects. And we broadened it to be any form of economic development. But this definitely is somewhere where we know we have $10,000 set aside in the 2021 budget. For myself, I struggle on the ERU, and that's that. But I see Deputy Mayor Kennedy.
Yeah, just a clarification. This is also a Places for People proposal. It's not coming from City Kawartha Lakes Housing Initiative exclusively. That's all I was going to make.
Correct. So I think, Michelle, for today, probably, I think council needs maybe further clarification and I would like anyway from staff on the ERU calculation, and if there's a possibility to alter that to calculation. We struggle on the ERU. It is a user pay system, and so we can't actually waive that. We'd actually have to put real money into our own capital contribution. So it isn't a waiving, it's a real hard dollar figure. As well as the other figures, I think need to be reviewed. So we could today certainly receive this report and have further discussion on the calculations of different items and what Dysart's contribution would be. I know that time is of the essence, so it's not something that we can delay and just ponder for some time. And maybe, Mallory, I'm just thinking we could have a further staff report, or I could speak with Hope Lee about, what municipalities have done in the past, what Dysart's done in the past, et cetera. Is that fair to all? Is there anyone who wants to comment, or so that we just receive it for today and get further? Okay. Mallory, is that okay if we bring it back to the committee of the whole? I know it's a bit of a rush. It's only in 2 weeks, but that we could just, maybe I can talk to Michelle after this meeting and talk with Hope about what contributions have happened in the past, et cetera.
Yep, that sounds good.
Okay, so we'll bring it back to committee of the whole, and for today then, and we'll also talk to our Dysart staff here in terms of the ERU calculation. So then today, what we'll do for the resolution is we will just receive the report. Is that okay? Unless there's somebody that wants to move and adopt those financial contributions at this point. Okay, so I'll need a mover to receive then. Councillor Clark. And a seconder, Councillor Smith. Be it resolved that the report for the County of Haliburton Affordable Housing Target Program Steering Committee 2020 Affordable Housing Target Program recommended project be received. All in favor? Okay, that carries. Michelle, maybe you can contact me later today via email and loop Hope Lee in, and we can have set up a time to have a phone chat for further discussion. So we're ready for committee of the whole. Okay, thanks so much for today. Did I call the vote? All in favor? Can't remember. Sorry. Okay, carried. I think I did. I've got a check mark beside carried. So sometimes it becomes habit. Thank you very much for your presentation, Michelle. We'll be in touch, or you'll be in touch with me. Okay, thanks. Okay, let's just get my agenda back up, and that concludes our 2 delegations. And so next we have reports and recommendations from local agencies, boards and committees. And first up is Harcourt Hall Board. I know there's no minutes because you haven't been meeting, but I'll turn to Councillor Donaldson to see if there's anything to report.
Nope, there isn't anything to report because there has been no meetings. The only thing I can report on is that lots of people are using our rink. So it's great that we have volunteers here that keep that rink possible. Yesterday there was a lot of people on it.
That's great to hear. So in terms of bookings for this summer, are they able to start taking bookings tentatively based on if gathering group sizes change? Are they just not taking any bookings till they know?
We haven't heard anything, and I'm sure that our secretary is in communication with Andrea Mueller on that.
Okay.
So,
Just didn't know, sort of pencil people in, and then if you know what I mean, the old-fashioned pencil. But and the same would go then for Councillor Smith. I'll turn it over to you then for the West Guildford Hall Board.
Thank you. So we met last night, actually. It was our first meeting since early December. And so the facility is reopened, has been for a week now, I guess, and been quite active. We've got the pickleball that we started late last fall, early winter, and that's back underway. There's 20 to 25 of people playing pickleball. There's 4 or 5 different groups that come in, some with just 4 people and some with 8 people. Following all the COVID procedures, there's an hour between each session so that a cleaner can come in and sanitize the facility from a COVID perspective. So that's been going very well. We haven't had, to your question, a lot of inquiries about summer events because people are, I guess, reaching a point of being pretty skeptical of the likelihood of being able to have a wedding reception or big Jack and Jill and so forth. So there's just not much activity on that front right now. We have made there will be no snow shuffle this year. The snowmobiling event that has been a fundraiser for the facility year after year. We are looking at another prospective tenant for some essentially a dog training program, but there's still some work to do to decide whether that's an appropriate activity. There's puts and takes, if you like. But at least we're open and back up. The skating rink is also in action, and good to see people back there, at least being able to utilize that from a skating point of view. Although some would like to play hockey, so follow the rules.
Got to follow the rules. Well, that's good to know. It's the community center is up and going. That's great news, and it's really nice to know. Like Dysart's had 3 outdoor rinks this whole time, and now our arena is back open again. So it's great. Thank you, Councillor Smith. So next, I'll turn to Councillor Clark for the report on the Rails and Gallery.
Lori submitted a report on some of the initiatives that are going on. They're still trying to promote a lot of stuff online. There has been one big change. We had hoped to be able to at least have a scaled down version of the Arts and Crafts Festival the end of July. Based on what we're seeing with other communities like Muskoka Arts and Crafts and that, they're all canceling. So we've decided as well that the larger event cannot happen. The concern is we would be attracting people from a lot of other communities, and it's a cross community spread is what the real fear is in terms of it being an event that would be a real health nightmare. I think it's what it would end up being with 10,000 people coming into the community. But what we have discussed and are currently exploring is something a little more scaled down, and rather than one particular weekend or over a couple of days, is just a couple of artists in different weekends, but more focused towards our local residents or seasonal residents, because the Head Lake Park is our gemstone for our community and the focal point. And so many people come in and want to see the arts and have something to do in the community. So they're exploring that right now in terms of different options, so it can be done safely and a scaled down version that doesn't attract or bring in crowds of people from other areas in the province. So. The other interesting thing, and just to mention what's going on with online, I attended an event through McMichael Collection about 2 weeks back. 2,000 people on a webinar for a presentation on Tom Thompson, and this seems to be something that's really kind of growing. So it provides some opportunity and thought for some of our local arts and cultural groups in terms of what they can do. So it's some interesting stuff happening out there in terms of technology and new ways of doing business as a result of COVID. But anyways, thank you.
Thank you for that. And it's unfortunate about the Arts and Craft Festival in the summertime. I certainly was a big high spender there. I did a lot of shopping. I loved it. I would always go like practically all 3 days. But I think it's what you have to do right now. It also brought in artists from other areas. So maybe this year we can feature a lot of the local artists that we have, and just, a little booth at a time. Railsend has that beautiful little park area where the picnic tables are, and maybe each weekend feature a local artist or something like that. So yeah, I think that's the way it's going to go this summer until the majority, I believe, whatever the threshold is, 70% of the population is vaccinated. I don't think we'll be seeing anything fully open up. So thank you for that report. Any questions for Councillor Clark on that? No? Okay, I do have a motion to acknowledge receipt of that report, if I could. Move. Councillor Smith, Councillor McKechnie. Be it resolved, the council acknowledges receipt of the February 2021 Rails and Gallery and Arts Centre report. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. And next we have the Haliburton BIA. So Councillor Wood Roberts.
BIA met in January. It's kind of the usual businesses. The flowers have been ordered and they're coming from Bradford Greenhouses again this year. With our budget, because of the cancellation of many events over the course of the year, there was a surplus from the levy last year, and it was decided to decrease the levy for 2021 and 2022 to try to help the businesses that have had a very difficult time. And that just passes on savings, and it would kind of creep back up and go back to a normal amount in 2023. We had our year end or AGM in early February. All the members are going to stand except Sharon Rowden, who very unfortunately is closing her salon. Just COVID has been very, very difficult on very small businesses over the past year. Yes, we have a new member, and we'll be at the meeting tonight, and we want to thank Madam Mayor for her visit with us at the AGM.
Yep, it was nice to see some of those faces I literally have not seen for a year. So so that was nice to see on screen, and Councillor Smith attended. And it's not in here from your AGM, but generally, and maybe you had the reports. I was only a guest, but in terms of the financial reports, I didn't see anything like there was sort of a verbal, we're just going to reduce the budget, but I didn't see, as I would, a line by line or an actual. And again, I'm sure that you're seeing those, and that Barbara has everything she needs from the BIA. Is there?
I believe so. Yeah.
Financial reporting is done through us, so it's part of our audit. So to make sure that those resolutions at meetings are passed properly with the right words, so that you approve a budget of 45,122, whatever it is exactly. I think so. Just make sure that through Barbara, you say you're meeting tonight. No.
Yes.
Tonight. So just if there's anything, Barbara, that you need. Because I didn't see that as a guest on the AGM, and I'm not seeing that in these minutes. It just says, you're reducing the levy, which was a very wise thing to do. I mean, when we're doing our own budgeting here at Dysart, we look at, are those projects that didn't get done, but we're still going to do, or is that real savings? Well, for them, it was a real savings. If you didn't have a Santa Claus parade, you didn't have a parade. So I think it's a very wise thing to do with their budget, and it might also happen for next year, so they don't need to build up a large surplus. So it's okay. The only thing I have to say, I noticed item 6.2 under correspondence said something about discussion was held regarding the snow removal in downtown. Do you want to comment on that? I think it's been great, and I'm downtown all the time.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that with the dog barking.
That's quite all right. No, just the under correspondence from your minutes, it was discussion about the snow removal in the downtown. That's something
do the best they can. It can't be done as often as everyone would like. That's just reasonable.
I walked the sidewalks. They seem to be in good shape. We made a commitment to have 2 accessible parking spaces in front of the bank, so those are always cleared right to the corner. We're also looking after areas in front of the post office. So anyway, we didn't get a letter so far, but if we do, we'll deal with that. And also the watering, if you can find out tonight, if they're asking anything of staff, or we need to have that clarified before we go into the spring season.
Yeah.
Or watering, not spring, I suppose it's really into summer because the flowers don't come till June. If you can find that out. Okay, I do have a resolution here to receive the minutes from the BIA. So mover. Deputy Mayor Kennedy and Councillor Smith. Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the January 26, 2021 minutes of the Downtown Haliburton BIA Board of Management meeting. All in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Yeah, they're all volunteers. They do a great job, so we appreciate them. And next is Aging Well. Councillor Wood Roberts, I don't think they've met. No. Harvest Haliburton, Councillor Clark.
Yeah, we still haven't met, and the health unit is kind of a main driver on this particular committee. And by the sounds of the way the vaccine planning and rollout's going to be, they're going to be the next couple of months up to their eyeballs trying to deal with that. So I don't expect anything for a few months on the Harvest Haliburton.
Yeah, okay. I'm just asking if there's anything in the next items, anybody? Okay, all right. So we'll move on to recommendations from Committee of the Whole. And there is the one in planning. So we have a resolution to that the recommendations from February 9th meeting, Committee of the Whole, be adopted by Council. Do I have a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Smith, Councillor Donaldson. Be it resolved that the recommendations from the February 9th, 2021 meeting of the Dysart et al. Committee of the Whole be adopted by Council. All in favor? Carried. And next we have planning. So we will bring in our planning department. Just give a minute till they get into the meeting. See Jeff.
Good morning.
And Chris, welcome. Okay, so I will turn it over to, I'm not sure, is it first file Jeff or Chris, the Gonson? The Gonson file has been around for a long time.
That's correct. Thank you, through you, Mayor. This is for the lands of Gonson. This application was submitted in order to establish the right-of-way with access off of Murray's Road and provide land access to the retained lands, benefited lands, and provide access to Drag Lake through a series of easements identified as parts 1 through 7 on the attached consent sketches. The proposed right-of-way is a condition of the concurrent draft plan of subdivision application that's currently being processed through the County of Haliburton. The conditions require that a road access easement be established prior to the registration of the plan of subdivision, and that's why this application is coming through. So pretty straightforward with the condition of a subdivision, and therefore, as the proposed is generally consistent with the provincial policies and conforms with the provisions of the municipal official plan, staff recommend that council support the general principle of the proposed application, subject to the conditions included in the resolution. That concludes the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Chris, for that. And so is this the last condition then? It's because it did get, they asked for, the file was going to lapse at the county. So we passed that we would give them whatever the extra time is. I don't know if it was an extra year. So is this the last condition and then it's back to the county land division? Maybe I'll ask Deputy Mayor Kennedy as he sits on land division.
Yeah, it's been through our committee and it was just being extended, I believe, pending this final step.
Excellent.
Yeah, the extension was just to complete some of the outstanding conditions. There is quite a few conditions, so I can't foresee if this is the final one, but this is definitely one that needs to be established, and that's why they need to bring it through council today.
Right, it's the one that we can control if there's other conditions outside of our jurisdiction, but this is one. Okay, so is there any questions on this? So I'll have a mover oh, Councillor Wood Roberts? No, she's talking. Sorry, I thought you were moving, Councillor Wood Roberts. Yes, you'll move that. Okay, and a seconder, Councillor McKechnie? Okay. Like being at an auction, you put your hand up and I took that as a bid. Be it resolved that council support the general principle of a proposal for file number H-00321, H-00421, H-00521, H-00621, H-00721, lands of Gonson, subject to the following conditions and the comments received through the public review process. Conditions are: number 1, registered owner to pay outstanding taxes. Number 2, registered owner to pay all administration fees to the municipality of Dysart et al. Number 3, registered owner to pay all application fees owed in the amount of $2,000 to the municipality of Dysart et al. Number 4, the right-of-way must be constructed and maintained to standards sufficient to permit safe emergency vehicle access. And number 5, prior to the endorsement of the deeds, the property owner must request that the municipality provide a clearance letter to the Haliburton County Land Division Committee confirming that conditions 1 through 4 have been fulfilled. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Wish them well. I know that's been a long time in the going. And next we have the lands of Hayes, and that's one that we had seen as a delegation. So Jeff, are you taking this one?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. And through you, Madam Mayor, Council has previously seen this. This is the bylaw coming back to Council for Council review. Bylaw 2021-08 is a bylaw to close and convey the shore road allowance in front of Harcourt Park in front of the lands for the tenant Hayes. The notice and circulation requirements have been complete, and staff recommend approval of the bylaw. And I'm happy to answer any questions that Council may have.
So maybe for further clarification, one of the questions that we had and why we're questioning that is and I didn't see that in the report, if it was there, pardon me, that was he able to move the structure any further back? And so can you comment on that?
Yes, thank you. Staff have been in discussion with Mr. Hayes a few times since Council last saw this file. His intention is to build in compliance with the zoning bylaws. So any increase in building width, any increase to the structure height will occur beyond the 10-meter water setback mark.
So he won't require minor variance, and that's why we're willing to sell the shore road allowance at this time. Okay, any other questions?
That's the intent, yes.
Deputy Mayor Kennedy, go ahead. And then Councillor Smith.
Clarification on this file. It says here the Hayes have made application to purchase. Would that be Harcourt Park has made the application? Because the ownership will be Harcourt Park, it won't be the Hayes. Is that correct?
Correct. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. That is correct.
Weird setup.
Harcourt Park is one large land holding and a unique entity within our municipality, but so all applications need to be approved and submitted on behalf of Harcourt Park. The land will actually be conveyed to Harcourt Park, and the applicants will be required to update their lease with Harcourt Park to attach the shore road allowance to their lease. So yeah, it's a bit of a unique situation, but you're right.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, Councillor Smith.
Oh, that's fine. I'm good there. Thank you.
Okay, great. Good. So I'll take a mover seconder for this. Deputy Mayor Kennedy and Councillor Smith. Be it resolved that bylaw 2021-08, which is a bylaw to stop, up, close, and convey a portion of the original shore road allowance in front of Lot 4, Concession 7, in the geographic township of Harcourt, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and a corporate seal attached thereto. All in favor? Okay, carried, and we have one more file in front of Kashagawigma.
Yes, thank you. And again, through you, Madam Mayor. Mr. and Mrs. Winder have made application to purchase the shore road allowance in front of their property on Kashagawigma Lake with the intention of repairing their boathouse, which is located on the shore road allowance. The boathouse was first assessed in 1964. Therefore, its location is recognized pursuant to our official plan. Any reconstruction or repair of this building will be guided by section 3.19 of the municipality zoning bylaw. When reviewing the property, it appears that there's also a shipping container on the property, which is not permitted in the waterfront residential zones. Staff will advise the applicant of this compliance issue and forward this matter to the attention of the bylaw department. But staff request direction to process the application and are happy to answer any questions that council might have.
Okay, so questions? Was there another accessory structure there in the photos?
Yes, there is a small shed at the back of the property as well, which appears to be in compliance with the zoning bylaw.
So then would the zoning bylaw permits 2 accessory structures? So the boathouse is one and then that shed, not the storage container, whatever you want to call that, shipping container. So they would be informed to, they wouldn't get a 3rd accessory structure.
I don't know the zoning off the top of my head. I apologize. In the waterfront zones, you're allowed 2 accessory buildings plus 1 under 100 square feet.
Okay.
Given that this is on Birch Narrows, I can't recall the zoning there, but in the suburban residential zones, you are only allowed 2 accessory buildings. You don't have that extra 1 under 100 square feet. So we will advise them of the compliance issue and we'll give them their options. They are allowed 2 accessory buildings. You're right. They could have a large garage and a shed, and they can incorporate some of that storage into one building.
Okay, just so if we're asking for removal of that storage container, they might think, oh, well, then we'll build another shed. But I just want to make sure that people, I mean, it's up to them to know what and ask the correct questions. But for now, we're just processing the application to purchase the shore road allowance. So the boathouse counts as 1. Any further questions? So I'll take a mover seconder. Councillor Clark, Councillor Smith. Be it resolved that council approves for processing an application for Mrs. Winder to purchase a portion of the shore road allowance along the shore of Kashagawigamog Lake in front of their property in part lot 10, concession 8 in the geographic township of Dysart et al. These lands are declared surplus. All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen. That was quick and easy today.
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. And I think we'll do one more section, which is building and bylaw, because there's just one thing in here. And then we will take a 15-minute recess after we do building and bylaw. That's okay with everybody if they're wondering what I'm thinking. So we'll bring in, is Carl and Brianna coming in? Yes. Okay. Just wait till staff are in the meeting. Okay, hi Bree. You can unmute, and Carl's also joining us. So I'm not sure who wants to go first in this report. Bree, you wrote it, so are you up first?
Sure, yeah. So the report is just basically in support of the report that came to council December 15th with regards to purchasing and moving forward with the add-ons of City View Portal and Mobile. So this is basically just the formal signing of the agreement and written into a bylaw so that we can move forward with that.
Are there any questions on that? Councillor Smith, go ahead.
Thank you. Bree, have you talked to other municipalities that make use of these accessories to City View and gotten a sense of the capabilities? And I note that we don't have a copy of the statement of work, and there's certain confidentiality reasons for that not becoming a public document. But I also note in the basic agreement that the folks at Harris Computer Corporation basically make no warranties or guarantees that this software will meet your requirements. So it's fully buyer beware, if you like. And so I want to be sure that you're very confident that based on your discussions with others, that this will do exactly what you need it to do.
Yeah, I mean, we were months in the making of signing the agreements and coming up with this. We did our research through a couple of different companies, obviously, and then ended up deciding that sticking with our roots with CityView was the best option. We did reach out to other users and stuff, and we are, I mean, once kind of we were able to do the demos and stuff like that with them, we definitely feel like it's going to do at least what we need, if not more.
Great, that's good to know. Thank you, and good question. So if there's nothing further, it's just a resolution to authorize signing of the bylaw. We need a mover seconder for that. Councillor Clark, Deputy Mayor Kennedy. Be it resolved that bylaw 2021-09 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a software license and support agreement with the Harris, it says N Harris, is that correct? Yeah. And Harris Computer Corporation, known as CityView, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached thereto. All in favor? Okay, so that's carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Bree. Thanks, Carl. So is it okay? It's only 10:15, but is this a good time for everyone to take a 15-minute coffee break?
Mayor Roberts will be going into closed after our break because we've moved up the close.
Yes, we have. There's a couple other things we could have done, like cultural resource or some other things that had been, but and so should we move to go into close now and make note in the minutes that we are also taking a 15-minute recess?
Yeah, we don't have to note the recess, but we should probably go into close now and then let everyone take a bit of break while we move.
That's a good idea, and we'll get people to turn their cameras off. So I just have to find the resolution. Okay, thank you. So I need a mover and a seconder to go into closed. Councillor Clark, Councillor Donaldson. Be it resolved that council adjourn its regular meeting at 10:15 a.m. to discuss matters pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended pertaining to financial information supplied in confidence to the municipality, which, if disclosed, could be reasonably expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of an organization under Public Works, a proposed disposition of land in the Township of Dysart, Industrial Park and Wagon Wheel Subdivision, and a proposed disposition of land in the Township of Guilford, Redstone Lake, and personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. All in favor? Okay, so that carries, which means we are in closed. And so I'll ask you to turn your cameras off and come back to your computers in 15 minutes. Thank you. So we are out of closed and we are in regular council again, and we have had a very short lunch break. And so I believe we're back on track to be at finance. I don't know, Barbara, if you are on screen. Not back from her break.
Can you hear me, Andrea?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I think Lori may have to enable our video again. I know mine's been disabled by the host. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm good. I'm good now.
That was me in closed. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Cut you off.
No problem.
Are you able to bring Barbara back in? There we go. Can we just take on mute, Barbara? Okay, so we're at item 7.A. So go ahead.
Okay, so I'm on deck.
You are.
Okay, well, good afternoon. And so what we have here is bylaw number 2021-10 to adopt the estimates of expenditures and revenues for the year 2021. So basically, we are looking at total expenditures of $17,225,000, and our municipal taxation will cover $10,135, or sorry, $10,135,000 of the expenses. So the bylaw is supporting a municipal tax levy increase of 1.16%. And we also have Schedule C, that is the bylaw allocation for the BIA, and their total levy is $45,000 for 2021.
Okay, so this is the bylaw for our budget. Is there any questions, comments? Mover and seconder, Councillor Smith.
Just, you know, it is our budget, so it's a big item, is a big decision, is has been pointed out, and I think it's appropriate to comment on the budget. Barbara has presented some numbers here, totaling $17,226,000 actually when you round it, and I note that transportation here is 33.7% of the total expenditure. That's less than it was at 34.3% in 2019. And you know, many of our taxpayers highlight roads as an area that they'd like to see us do a better job of. In fact, one of the local papers had an editorial recently that spoke to that topic, that roads were extremely important to the community, and taxpayers were speaking up and saying they wanted a better job done on roads. And of course, one of the ways that we make that happen is by ensuring that we grow the proportion of our budget that's allocated to roads. And in fact, between 2019 and 2021 with this budget, we're reducing the proportion of the budget. Even another way of looking at it, because I know not all of our money, you know, in the budget is reflective of taxes. There are other factors that come to bear here. We get grants, for example. So in 2020, the grants for the visitor center, you know, meant that recreation and culture was a disproportionately large amount that year. But I was looking at the numbers, and if you look at transportation as a share of the total taxes that we collect, in other words, where our local property owners are paying, in 2021, it's 57%. That's down from over 60% in 2019. So by two measures, you know, roads and transportation services are not getting more of our budget. They're in fact getting less of our budget, comparing that 2019 to 2021. And I know I speak to this point often, but I didn't want to let the opportunity of the budget vote go by without reminding council that we are not, in my opinion, doing a good enough job of responding to what our taxpayers tell us are important. That is roads and transportation. We're not giving our road staff the funds that they need to continue to improve our roads. And I think that's unfortunate, but I've had my say, and thank you for listening.
Okay, I'm definitely going to let Barbara respond to that.
Okay, thank you. And so just going back to the bylaw 2012 or 2020 of 2020-12, which is the 2020 budget, transportation services made up $5,687,000 of the 2020 budget, which represented 33.1%. If you're looking at the Schedule A of bylaw 2021-10, There actually is a little bit of an increase on the road spend by over $100,000. That does represent 33.7% of the total municipal levy. So I do believe there is a little bit more spend there in the transportation budget as a whole for 2021.
As well, Barbara.
If I might respond to that,
Mhm.
I'm not intending to get into a debate with Barbara on this point. My comparison was 2019 to 2021, because as Barbara knows, and as councilors will know, our numbers for 2020 were distorted by the large grants that we received associated with the visitor center. The spending on recreation and culture in 2019 was 1.8 million. In 2020, it was 2.4 million. That's an aberration. It's back down to 2.1 million in 2021. My comparison, the 33.7 to the 34.3 was 2019 to 2021. And that's where we see the, I said, the decline occurring. And again, I'm not intending to get into a debate with Barbara. I'm just pointing out the facts. Thank you.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Can we stay on the topic of the passing the budget rather than getting back into roads discussions, please?
Yes, correct. That is, thank you for that. So we do have a resolution to adopt the bylaw, which is our budget. So I believe budget discussion more or less was over. So we'll go for a mover and a seconder to, so Councillor Clark, Councillor Wood Roberts. Be it resolved that bylaw 2021-10 being a bylaw to adopt the estimates of expenditures and revenues for the year 2021 to authorize levying the rates of taxation for 2021, to establish the due date for the payment of taxes, and to provide for penalty and interest to be added to unpaid taxes be read first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached hereto. All in favor? That passed. Okay, thank you, Barbara. And now we'll move into administration. And there's a letter from AMCTO. Mallory, is that for you to speak to?
Yeah, I believe they're just reaching out to municipal councils to consider that they need to focus on training still, even with the stress on budgets in current times. So they've just asked for it to be put on municipal councils for them to make sure that they still train their staff properly, I guess, and make sure they're doing that.
Absolutely, and I don't know, I don't remember the line by line budget. It seems so long ago when we looked at that, but you know, there is money in there for training, so I encourage any staff to make sure that they take opportunity to do that. So we do have a resolution though, just to receive. If I could, Councillor Clark and Councillor Donaldson. Be it resolved that council acknowledges receipt of the letter from AMCTO regarding the importance of staff professional development. All in favor? Okay, carried. Next to health and safety policy statement.
Yeah, council passes this every year. I don't know if Tamara wants to speak more to it, but it's one of our policies that gets adopted yearly by council. So I'm just bringing it forward.
Tamara?
It doesn't really require anything further. It's just to ensure that staff and council are aware. We post them on bulletin boards and make sure they're part of our policy manuals. And as Mallory noted, it's an annual requirement.
Okay. Are there any other policies that, particularly for as counselors, that we're supposed to sign off on and read every year?
Yeah, there'll be more training coming forward in different areas, things like accessibility and general health and safety, and bring them forward as we can, for sure. Okay.
Mover and a seconder on that, please. Councillor Smith, Councillor McKechnie. Be it resolved that council adopts the health and safety policy statement for 2021. All in favor? Okay, carried. and disposal of soap pond lands.
Council has been in discussion about this piece of property, which is on Kinesis Lake. It was conveyed to the municipality in 2002 for conservation purposes, so it was a condition of consent. The property is environmentally sensitive, and there isn't a buildable area on the lot. And council wanted staff to bring it forward because there's liability concerns. It's difficult to access. So council has explored the option of gifting the property to Halliburton Highlands Land Trust or the Kinesis Lake Cottage Owners Association, and the Kinesis Lake Cottage Owners Association has reached out to express their interest. So there's a few things to note on this resolution. It's recommending that we declare the land surplus and initiate the transfer, but there's also a few items about if we'd like Kinesis Lake Cottage Owners Association to pay the legal expenses, and also there's a line in there that we use when a property's going to be tax exempt because of its nature. So that's an option on the resolution as well, to provide that tax exemption.
Okay, and they were all included in our agenda package, so people can see that. Barbara, you want to comment on that? Unmute Barbara.
Yes, and further clarification on the property taxation. It's MPAC that will assess the classification of this property if it does get transferred to another organization. Right now, it is under the ownership of Dysart. It is exempt. However, with the transfer, it changes the classification and it could trigger a taxable event. And I think the intention of the last clause under the recommendation, further that taxes accrued on soap pond lands be written off in 2021 and future years, is the municipality taking on that expense, although the municipality does not own that property.
So we take on the expense or exempt the Dysart portion of the taxes?
Well, it's not, the property will not be exempt in terms of the MPAC classification. It may get another classification where there is a tax rate applicable. So at that point, then there will be taxes for the lower, upper, and education portion. And so what that last clause is referring to is that basically the municipality will grant a donation to the organization in lieu of property taxation. So basically we will absorb the cost of the property taxes.
Okay, so including the education and the county portion?
Correct.
Okay. That was my question, is that would we only just write off the Dysart portion, but you're suggesting that we write off both, all three?
Correct. It will be all three. We well, you know, it's up to council. I mean, they may decide that they could only grant the relief of the municipal portion, and they pay for the upper tier and the education portion.
Okay, thanks for that clarification. Walt or Councillor Keckney?
Yeah, just curious, how much money would that be, Barbara?
And right now that property is valued at about $63,000. So if you're looking at all three, the lower, upper, and education portion, if it were to get a classification of residential, then you're looking at about $420 a year. That would be that is based on the 2020 rate, taxation rate.
Thanks very much.
Okay, any other comments? We have the resolution and there, Councillor Smith.
Yeah, thanks. Just you know, clarify here that you know, we're initiating this transfer, interest in this transfer because of a liability concern that would fall to the municipality, and the Lake Association has volunteered to take on ownership. They're willing to pay the legal costs involved in transferring the land, and then they'll manage it, so that it will be there for the good of the public at large. And I think that that's a pretty reasonable step that we can proceed upon. And I note that the exemption of taxes is not unique to this situation. There are others that we pick up that. Frankly, I'm surprised that this could be appraised as high as 63,000. It's not a buildable lot. It's a bit like an island that the Lake Association also has, that has a property tax bill, I think, of $250 a year. Because you can't build on it. What value does the property really have?
Okay, so is there support for the resolution as it's included in our package? Hands up. Councillor Smith moves and Deputy Mayor Kennedy second. Be it resolved that council declares the parcel of land legally known as Part Lot 7 and 8, Concession 12, Registered Plan 19R-7397, Part 1, in the geographic township of Guildford, roll number 4624 041 000 75730-0000, surplus to the needs of the municipality, and further that staff are directed to initiate the transfer of Soap Pond lands to the Canisa Lake Cottage Owners Association, known as KLCOA, and further that as a condition of transfer, all legal expenses to convey Soap Pond lands will be paid to KLCOA, and further that the taxes accrued on Soap Pond lands be written off in 2021 and also in the following years while under the ownership of KLCOA. All in favor? Okay, that is carried. And we added to administration, I believe, Mallory, this is where we added the ward boundary discussion as approved in our amended agenda. So as there's no, pardon me?
Oh, sorry, I just said yes. Yep, that's the right.
Yeah, so I put it as item D under administration in my own handwriting. And so seeing as there's no written, I'll just turn it over to Councillor Smith to
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to come back to this topic. It was discussed at Committee of Whole, and the problem here is very simple. 45% of our eligible voters elect 3 members of council, 3 councillors, and the other 55% of our eligible voters get to elect 2 councillors. If those numbers were reversed, if it was 55 electing 3 and 45 electing 2, we'd say that's not perfect. It's not ideal, but at least it's in the ballpark. But to have 55% electing 2 and 45% electing 3 is completely out of whack with the concept of representation by population and the principles on which our democracy has been built. After the discussion at Committee of Whole, where council thought that the COVID pandemic, would prohibit any adjustment to ward boundaries, I reached out to Watson and Associates. That was the firm that was referenced in the staff report, because I was curious, what are communities doing to deal with protecting the principle of representation by population during the COVID pandemic? Are they delaying these things, or what's happening? And so a gentleman by the name of Jack Amendolia, who's the managing partner of Watson and Associates, happens to be the individual to whom the team that works on ward boundaries reports to, got back to me, and after some back and forth by emails, we had a live telephone conversation. And I asked him, so what's happening in the COVID world with respect to ward boundaries? And he said, well, there's literally dozens of them going on around Ontario right now. His firm is involved in 10 or 11 at this particular point in time. Last March, when COVID hit, there was a momentary pause, but they took the time to review the process and update it, as many organizations have done for lots of different activities. We've learned to cope with COVID and get on with things. He spoke of a process that involves extensive public engagement, virtual town halls, talked about how well it has worked with senior populations and seasonal populations in terms of their accessibility to participate in the process. Talked about combining this with using some of the physical facilities and print media, radio advertising, and so forth. Talked about small communities. Talked about large communities like the city of Vaughan there above Toronto, how they're been involved in a process. I asked him about how long these things take. Jack turned out to be quite familiar with our area. Doesn't have a cottage here personally, but has visited a number of cottages. Also, Watson Associates has done work in Algonquin Highlands, so they have teams of people up here all the time. He said, look, I know that community pretty well. It would be a 3 to 3.5 month process. If you were to issue an RFP in the next month or two, get somebody selected to work with you, assuming you want to do it with a consultant, we could certainly have that process completed and get it done in the September, where council would have a proposal before itself in September, have a chance to approve that if you felt appropriate. And that would allow time for an appeal process if anybody wanted to engage in an appeal through the LPAT process. As he noted, he said, look, we've done hundreds, literally hundreds of these over the last many years. And there's just been 2 appeals in the last decade. So the likelihood of an appeal is pretty remote, but the work could be done in the time frame that would be required. So I wanted to share that with council and make sure that all understood that this was certainly a process that many organizations, many municipalities across Ontario have continued with and upheld the principles of representation by population. And that although that past councils here in 2008 and again in 2014 didn't pursue this, if this council believes that representation by population is important, then certainly we have an opportunity to complete a robust process. And I should note that the process that Watson and Associates uses, I can't speak for others, but it involves an interview with every councillor, kicking the process off. It involves extensive public participation. It involves the consultant bringing a recommendation back to council, and council ultimately making the final decision on whatever new ward boundaries might look like. And so I would encourage council to direct staff to proceed with the preparation of an RFP such that a consultant could be selected to update our ward boundaries and bring us to a world where our wards are approximately equal in size, and therefore the weight of each voter is equal or approximately equal when it comes to an election. Whether you believe in the merits of the rulings from the Supreme Court of Canada in the past, or whether you believe in the principles that our civics classes at the local Halliburton High School are learning. This is an important principle, and it's one that demonstrates that our council cares about democracy, wants voters to be respected, and wants those voters to engage in the public process, whether it's helping define ward boundaries or whether it's voting at election time. Every vote matters, and every vote should be equal in value. Thank you very much.
I did see Councillor McKechnie's hand for comment. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think at this time, the length of time that's left in this term, that we should totally forget about this for now and leave this to the next new council that's going to come in less than a year and a half or so, whatever it is. So I think we've already got enough on our plate to look after. I don't want to go into all the issues that we have in front of us. So in my ward, ever since this has been out in the media, haven't had one person contact me about it. So I think that in the future, definitely if the next council wants to address it, I think they should do right at the beginning. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McKechnie. I'll turn to Councillor Clark.
Yeah, just to echo what Councillor McKechnie said. For one thing, I don't think the number of people in the individual wards is truly representative of the workload of the individual councillors. Ward 1 looks small, but they're almost exclusively full-time residents, and as a result, there's additional workload there that's not seen in areas where we've got a higher proportion of seasonal residents. I do believe that the census, the Canada census that's going to go on this year is going to have a lot of impact in terms of that determination of both the aging of our population and also the permanent and seasonal population. And again, this is something we debated before and is not that important, right? You know, at least in my thinking, is not that important at this point in time. I think there's other things that need to be considered for us to do a proper evaluation. So I can't support doing a ward realignment at this point in time. Thank you.
Okay, do any other councillors either want to comment, to show support for Councillor Smith's recommendation, or to speak to it in any way? Yep, Deputy Mayor Kennedy.
Yeah, I thank Councillor Smith for following up on this, and if it's the will of council to go ahead with this, I don't have a problem. The only issue I would have is that if county council decides to amalgamate, there will not be a Dysart probably going forward. It would all be all single tier. So it may, and that's been on the county council's decision to make the decision before the end of this term, moving forward. So that's a consideration, just has to be weighed into it. That's all I'm saying. That it may be money that is spent, and if council decides to move to a single tier, it may be irrelevant. But that's just a warning, and I don't know how it's going to go at county council.
Okay, Councillor Wood Roberts, or just before Councillor Smith, I go back to you. I just want to see if Councillor Donaldson or Councillor Wood Roberts, did you want to weigh in at all?
Well, we haven't budgeted anything for this, and I would think it would be a reasonably expensive endeavor. It's going to be an incredible workload for staff as well. I think it would all have to be in place by the end of the year. And I mean, we can look at the percentages of people in the areas that voted in 2018 as well. So, I mean, I think everybody is being represented that chooses to vote. They're choosing who they want to represent them.
Okay. Yes, we have not contemplated cost at all on any of this. Councillor Donaldson, did you want to weigh in, or are you?
Yeah, no, I just had the same concerns, the cost of it, and what Deputy Kennedy said with the county possibly changing things, we could do all that work and spend all that money, and it would be completely irrelevant in another year or two.
So I am not seeing any support, and as chairperson, it's my role as mayor to sort of let everybody talk and not sway one way or the other. I do obviously vote when it comes, which I voted to get this on the table on the agenda today, so that we could have a second review of it. And I did have people reach out to me, one person in particular, but was quite distraught. But I think there's a lot of factors involved, and as in the original report from our clerk, Mallory, it isn't strictly about numbers. It is about geography, it is a bit about culture, is it about history? So it isn't necessarily exactly equal numbers. And a place like City of Vaughan might have to change because two housing developments just went in and added 5,000 more people. So we have to do what's best for Dysart here and what works for our workflow of staff. And I never said that it wasn't an issue. It's just, is this something that we want to add to our plate right now? And I think I heard from Councillor McKechnie that it would be probably wise to maybe it is kicking the can down the road, but saying to a next term of council, why don't you review it then? And maybe the county will know more what they're doing. Maybe the permanent population and eligible voters might permanent population, either way, whether you own property on the basis of voting. So that may or may not change too much, so I appreciate, Councillor Smith, the work that you undertook to contact that organization, that Watson and Associates, for what they've done, but you can so move, but I don't see that there is support to continue on this. And if there is support, but I don't see that. So we've had the discussion, and who's ever here in 2022, I encourage them to put that on early on in their term of council then as something to investigate. So,
if I might respond to some of the comments been made, the workload for councillors is not a defining requirement in terms of our democracy. If somebody thinks that the council workload is particularly high in a ward, well then that councillor should maybe reconsider the ward they run in. Or maybe the council should say, look, that particular ward's got a lot of work. We're going to pay that councillor extra if somebody's here for the pay. The census has got nothing to do with it. Voting in a municipal election isn't about census. It's about property and the ownership of that property. To say that this is not important is really tossing aside, as I said, a founding principle of our democracy. It's about representation by population. One vote equal to another. Yes, the Supreme Court of Canada has said that you can have a slight variation. As I said before, 2 weeks ago, Elections Canada initially interpreted that to be 25%. They reduced that in August of 2018 to 15%. And, the concept of amalgamation, amalgamation isn't going to happen solely based on the county council making a decision. It would be a requirement of each of the local councils also to agree to be amalgamated. And although I'm a strong proponent of efficiency in government, the fact of the matter is that the tax rate in Highlands East is 30% higher than it is in Dysart. Algonquin Highlands is about 10% higher than it is in Dysart. In Minden Hills, it's also significantly higher than it is in Dysart, in addition to all the debt that people in Minden Hills are carrying and taking on for their new facilities. So if somebody thinks amalgamation is going to be in the best interest of Dysart, there is no argument to support that. It's just a bad idea. If I was representing Minden Hills, I might say amalgamation is a great idea because I want somebody to clear up my debt. Well, we're not signing up for that. Amalgamation, even if it was going to happen.
Councillor Smith, we're not talking about amalgamation. We brought it.
Well, it was raised as an objection, as a reason not to do this. It's like saying we're not going to build a budget because we're suffering a COVID pandemic and we might all be dead in 12 months. We're not planning for that.
Conversation.
Yeah. So anyway, look, there's lots of important reasons to do this, but I understand again by a vote of 6-1 that it's not happening, and I guess it'll be up to citizens to take control of this themselves, because that's the only way it'll happen. 2008 council did nothing. 2014 council did nothing. 2021 council did nothing. And, so be it. I guess we'll just have to be told by somebody what we need to do. Thank you very much.
I don't necessarily, well, we're not voting on anything because there's no motion on the floor, but I would hesitate to say that it's necessarily a 6-1. I heard from everybody that it would be something that at some point in time should be looked at, but now is not the time for different reasons that I heard. So it's not to say that we're against it or anyone's trying to protect their ward or anything like that. It just comes down to workload. So that we've had the discussion and there's no resolution on the floor. So then we will move to reports from standing committees, and there's one from Cultural Resource Committee, of which Councillor Donaldson was chair. We brought that meeting forward because we had not met for some time. So Councillor Donaldson, I'll let you speak to those minutes, and you want to?
I'm sure. Just that we had a lot of catching up to do in that meeting. There was so much, and I think that we're still in the process of doing that, but we have another meeting in 2 days. So we should be able to get through it all, and what else is on the agenda to follow up from what we did last month. So I think that I feel like we're getting back on track after such a long time of not meeting, and things will start to happen again.
One of the things we noted, we were having trouble even getting the meetings together due to lack of quorum. But we are missing members. They had left the meeting for whichever reason, but this is one that's very organization oriented. So it says, an example, we need somebody from the media community. The structure of that committee is made up of not necessarily names of people, but organizations that they represent. And so we put it out, and we hope to have a couple new members. And so that will help with having with help for having quorum, so that we can continue on our bi-monthly meetings. And I agree with you. It felt like we kind of got back on track on that meeting. And then just one thing to note in the minutes was it was brought up about the Sam Slick Park namesake, and the very last sentence of the first paragraph says it was agreed to discuss at a later meeting to be able to provide informed facts before deciding whether to make a recommendation to council. So if councillors were aware, there was some, both newspapers, our local newspapers covered that topic in the fall. And so the Cultural Resource Committee is going to be sort of doing some further research on that, if you will. So, and seeing if we'll make any recommendation. And as Councillor Donaldson said, we meet again this Thursday. I hope to be able to appoint 2 new members. Okay, so I have a resolution to receive those minutes, if I could. So Donaldson and Councillor Smith.
Andrea?
Yes.
It's just not noted that I had regrets as I was working that day.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. If we can
that's
note.
okay. Just to make it.
These are actually, we're receiving these, and these aren't the minutes that are actually going to be we'll pass them on this Thursday. Yes, you are working. So when we on Councillor Donaldson, as you as a chair, can you make sure that on Thursday we remember to reflect the minutes?
Yeah. Okay.
So be it resolved, the council acknowledges receipt of the January 28th, 2021 Cultural Resource Committee minutes. Oh, I can't speak anymore. All in favor? Thanks. And we do have a resolution that came out of close. So we've, for anyone still watching, we had our closed session, and I do have one resolution as a report from closed. So I need a mover and a seconder on the regarding the lot 20 in Industrial Park. Councillor Clark, Councillor Wood Roberts. Be it resolved that council accepts the offer to purchase, be it resolved that council accepts the offer to purchase for lot 20 in Industrial Park, described as concession 9, part lot 11, registered plan 19R 4878, part 20, in the geographic township of Dysart. I'm not going to read the roll number, it's there, I'm sorry, from 2637795 Ontario Limited, known as Highland Design, in the amount of $77,000 plus HST, and further directs the clerk to prepare the required documents to proceed with the sale. All in favor? Carried. So that concludes the main base of our meeting. I'll just look to see if there's any notice of motion. Seeing none, I need a mover and a seconder for the confirming bylaw. Councillor Wood Roberts, Councillor Donaldson. Be it resolved that bylaw 2021-11, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular council meeting held on February 23rd, 2021, be read a first, second, and third time, passed, signed, and the corporate seal attached hereto. All in favor? That carries. And lastly, a motion to adjourn. And Deputy Mayor Kennedy and Councillor Smith. Be it resolved the council adjourn its regular meeting held on February 23rd, 2021 at 1:51 p.m. All in favor? Okay, then that carries. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, staff and fellow counselors, and I hope you have a great day and get your shovels ready, because I guess we're getting more white stuff. Okay, take care, everybody. Bye now.